Welcome to this week's Nebraska Prep Zone podcast. I'm Stu Pospisil alongside Mike Patterson. And Mike, it was another interesting week last week, and we got more fun and frivolity coming this week, I think.
That's right. I got to watch Westside again, and we'll talk about them, but boy, the Warriors just keep on rolling.
We're going to see a lot of Westside, I think, in the next couple months between you and I. Next week, for instance, it's Kearney coming in to play Westside, so you won't get that one, I don't think.
Kearney's already had a great win at Bellevue West, so I'm sure Coach Lamanji at Westside is going to tell his team all about that. For sure, they're not going to overlook the Bearcats.
It's also homecoming, and with homecoming, you never know what you're going to get from your players. Coaches will tell you that time and again. You got to keep them focused and on the task at hand, and I think Coach Lamanji will do a pretty good job of that. But, you know, Kearney spoiled Bellevue West homecoming. They'd love to make it too. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. This week, I've got a new entry in our Nebraska Top 10 football ratings, and that was the team I saw last week, the Bennington Badgers. Came through again on homecoming night, and what a fireworks show they put on before, during, and after. 41-21 over Elkhorn convinced me that they belonged in the top 10, and with Lincoln Southeast knocking off Millard North the night before, gave me an opening to get the Badgers in and also get Lincoln Southeast a number 10 ranking, 3 straight wins for the Knights, entering a big city game Friday night with Lincoln Southwest.
We talked about Bennington a little bit last week, Stu, and you know, the graduation of their great back, Dylan Mostick, hasn't slowed him down too much this season, and I think they really deserve to be in that overall top 10.
Well, I appreciate that.
That's okay.
Trey Bird being able to throw a little bit more this year without Dylan. You know, you have to kind of balance out the offense. Nick Colbert ran for about 100 yards and a couple touchdowns. Defensively, Bennington's very quick, maybe a little undersized in some places, but they make up for it, you know, with their lateral and pursuit like that. And yeah, they go up to Blair this week. I know the Bears would like to knock off a number 1 team, but I think it'll be a tough task for the boys up there.
Well, these are good times at Bennington, Stu. I was just there last night covering volleyball, and you know, their volleyball team is up to number 4 in Class B, and they won again last night. So, like I said, good times for the Badgers.
As they continue their push towards Class A status, they'll be a school that can't get that second school open fast enough to avoid at least a time in Class A coming up probably in the next cycle or two. So,
right.
But we'll run down our top 10s. We'll start with football first. Omaha Westside, as you saw last week, took care of Norfolk in fine fashion, 48-0. So they stay number 1. Gretna, which hosts Bellevue West in probably the biggest game of Class A this week, stays at number 2. Actually, there wasn't much movement. Elkhorn South 3, Omaha North 4, Creighton Prep 5, Kearney, big game with Grand Island on Friday night. So Kearney certainly not able to look ahead to Westside next week. Bellevue West 7, Grand Island. Millard South, Cam Kozel's back, staying at 2 and 3. It looks like their offense is clicking again. They were down their 4th-string quarterback a couple weeks ago. Now they're back up to number 1, and they have Westside coming up on the 13th. That's a Thursday night game, so we're going to be seeing a lot of Westside. And then Bennington 10. In our other classes, Bennington, of course, leads Class B. Aurora in C1. Norfolk Catholic in C2. I'll see Norfolk Catholic on Thursday night host Battle Creek. With those 2 teams back in the same class for the first time in a while. Great renewal of a rivalry that dates back to the 60s. At least in the old days, that I can remember games at Battle Creek where they'd be standing 3 and 4 deep along the fence. Norfolk obviously has a little better seating capacity, but it should be a fun night up there. And then in the 80-man field classes, North Platte St. Patrick's is the 8-man 1 leader. Howells Dodge stays up at number 1 and 8-man 2. Big game with Humphrey St. Francis over at Fultz Field in Humphrey with the turf. Always a great game there. And then Potter Dix continues to roll in 6-man. So, Mike, how about your top 10 list?
Well, let's look at that overall top 10, Stu. Lincoln Southwest remains number 1. I was at the tournament at Papillion, and Lincoln Southwest ended up being 1-1 like two other teams, Papio South and Westside. Southwest was declared the champion. A little bit of a complicated process, but they captured the Allison Weston
What would you have
tournament.
done if they happened to declare the champion?
I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. Sometimes you just have to ask these pithy questions to.
I left that to the Papillion La Vista officials who were running the tournament to
And you
tell
slipped
me,
them a 5?
yeah,
Okay.
to tell me who won. They told me Lincoln Southwest won, so that's good by me.
Okay.
So Silverhawks continue their winning ways. Still number 1 overall top 10. Number 2 Papio South. Number 3 Omaha Skutt. Number 4 Elkhorn North. Number 5 Omaha Marion. Number 6 Papio. Number 7 Lincoln Lutheran. They remain number 7, or number 1 in Class C2, still undefeated. Number 8 Gretna. Number 9 Westside, and number 10 Norris. So that's our overall top 10.
So 3 of the teams are out of Class B or below?
Yes, we've got
Skutt and
Skutt, Elkhorn
Lutheran.
North, Norris,
Oh,
and Lincoln Lutheran.
So 4 of them.
the 10.
Okay.
So that's just the way it is in the land of
Sure it is, especially in girls' sports. I think there's much more balance between the classes than in say football, where numbers do matter.
Right. I'd agree with that. Our number 1s throughout the classes, Lincoln Southwest in A, Skutt in B, North Bend still undefeated in Class C1, Lincoln Lutheran, as we mentioned, number 1 in C2, Maywood Hayes Center remains number 1 in D1, and Shelton remains number 1 in Class D2. So that's our number 1s throughout the classes.
Speaking of North Bend, did I mention I got an eagle out there last week?
But did you get an ace?
I did not, but I matched her 2 under on a hole, so at least I got that going for me. Mike, tell us about where you might be this week and some top matches to watch.
Well, I told you I was at Bennington last night, Stu. Concordia, good Class C1 team, but Bennington was too much. They got it done last night in 3. Really good match Thursday night. We mentioned Lincoln Southwest. They're coming in to play a match at Millard West on Thursday night. I expect the Wildcat Crazies to be out in force for that one as they try to spring the upset. And this weekend, the big tournaments, the Lincoln Northeast tournament. And I mentioned North Bend. I think they have a really tough match at Malcolm on Thursday night. So that could be another good one. So
I just saw in your notables the freshman Dolliver down there has had matches of 27 and 26 kills. So that's John Dolliver's daughter from the NSAA. Yeah, that's a nice athletic family that she's coming out of. So looks like she's got a bright future.
You know, I've been doing this maybe too long, Stu, and I can remember those Dolliver girls when they would be at the state tournament with their mom.
You mean the Rugrats?
Up in the designated area, and they were all, down there about like that, and now they're...
Now they can look you in the eye.
Maybe look down on me. I don't know.
They're pretty tall.
Who knows? But yeah, great athletic family, and of course John Dolliver, longtime NSAA official, so really a key member of that Malcolm team.
Certainly. Well, in football, we start Thursday night. Lincoln East comes up and plays Millard South. See if the Patriots can get back to 500, or if Lincoln East can pull off a minor upset, I'd call it. They're kind of outside the top 10. A win like that might push them over. WS is at Gretna, as I said, on Friday. Grand Island at Kearney. Southwest, Southeast, that's an 8 o'clock start at Seacrest Field. And Millard West, Millard North, probably a little bit under the radar, but both teams need a win to get back to get back to 500. And Millard West maybe is playing a little better right now, and see what happens. Millard North did put up almost 600 yards last week and didn't win against Southeast. Gave up 56. In Class B, Pius and Skutt is a TV game on Thursday night. Bennington goes to Blair. First time this matchup is I think a pretty even one, is Elkhorn North at Elkhorn. You're going to see that. Enjoy the press box food, by the way.
Yeah, that's the stadium where I famously got locked in one year, and I had to scale the 8-foot fence to get out. Fortunately, I didn't break anything, so that was a win-win, I guess.
Yes, I've had my share of lock-ins, but one pair of torn pants. Also, Scottsbluff goes to Waverly. Scottsbluff already has been to York and to Lincoln Pius, so next year they get save on the gas, and those teams have to go west. Another game, Aurora at Minden in Class C1, St. Paul's at Adams Central, Lincoln Christian at Auburn, Ogallala at McCook. That's a renewed rivalry. I think somebody emailed me that this is the first time they've met since maybe 2007, and I think I was there for that game on a snowy field that got swept off. But anyway, and of course in C2 on Thursday night is Battle Creek at Norfolk Catholic, and yours truly will be there after a trip to the Valor Pumpkin Patch. It is the season. So on that note, go out and get your pumpkins. You still got a month to do that, and we won't turn into pumpkins before next week. So come back for another episode of the Nebraska Prep Zone podcast.